place of abundance. This is our destiny.
It's hard to believe it's been 10 years.
Nuts.
Almost 10 years since Fury Road. When I saw Fury Road, I was just like, what was that? It was so wild and eclectic and crazy. And it was like nothing I'd ever seen prior. And frankly, it's like nothing I've seen since. So we have a masterclass director working with like the same like palette. And I gotta say, while I did enjoy the movie, it was considerably slower than Fury Road. And that's because Fury Road is like a 2-hour action scene. That is not this movie. This movie takes place over 15 years, where Fury Road took place over 3 days. And not only that, Anya Taylor-Joy does not show up in the film until like an hour and a half in. This movie is not the movie I was expecting, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad movie. In the movie, right? I'm like, okay, I know Furiosa has one arm and she's got two here. So I'm like, all right,
something's gonna happen.
How's that arm gonna go? And when she started tattooing how to get back home on her left arm, I was like, how genius. Someone's gonna cut her arm off in order to find the green place. And she's gotta get her arm back. I thought that's what the whole movie was gonna be about.
That's what I thought it was gonna be,
And I thought, that's so nasty and gnarly and cool. And then when it didn't happen and there was no consequence to her losing the map on her arm, it felt like they missed something. I was like,
a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I felt like a missed opportunity. I think the idea of Furiosa desperately trying to get her rotting arm back from Dementis, like, I think that's fun. That would have been my movie. That was the movie happening in my head. And that movie moved in my head. But in the movie I saw, it was a little slower. I think there were two performances in this film that absolutely wowed me. First of all, I think Chris Hemsworth put in the best performance of his entire career as Dementis. And not only that, I could tell that George Miller put a lot of attention into Dementis' outfit, into his mannerisms, and it was just fantastic. I was surprised that the movie went one step further for Dementis in that we got to understand like a character motivation for him. I thought he would just be a psycho, demented person. But it turns out he's just been beaten down so hard by the wasteland that he's a walking corpse. He is the Walking Dead. Yeah, and he just wants to feel something. And so he goes to these extreme lengths to feel something. He even has, I could gush about Dimensions forever, yo. He even has this cool symbolism with his cape, where his cape started off pure white. I imagine that was just Dementis, and then he gets the red. And the red is kind of like an ombre. It goes from like reddish to kind of pink to white. And then it gets black when he's Dark Dementis at the end of the film. Like, killer. I loved all that stuff.
He wanted to take over the wasteland by taking over the Citadel. He ends up deboing the gas town and taking that over.
But the true scene stealer, the true lead of this film was young Furiosa, played by Alayla Brown. She killed it. She had to be innocent and sweet, but at the same time, she's got to like gnaw on the gas line. Like a little animal, you know? Like I thought she was
like a gerbil.
Fantastic. Yeah, seriously. And you know, just last week we were talking about how in The Temptations, when Leon's David Ruffin left the film, he took the energy with him.
Yeah.
I gotta say, that little girl, she
took the energy with her.
She left the film. The energy kind of went like do. You know, I felt like I understood her. I understood her anger. I understood why she was here. But then when Anya Taylor-Joy came, while she was fine in the role, like she didn't do anything wrong, she barely spoke. I think Anya Taylor-Joy has 30 lines of dialogue in total. So she barely spoke. All she got to do was really pose. Unfortunately, she's following up Charlize Theron, probably one of the finest actresses we have, you know, working today. So it's kind of unfortunate she got to follow that up.
Fine.
So for me, I felt really torn about this film. The crazy, outlandish look, the operatic feeling of the universe is still here, but it just doesn't. It didn't feel as unique this time around, and I was surprised that the biggest change was that the movie is slower.
How intense that the Fury Road was, that it just started off with just how thunderous it was, and straight into the action and like that. That set the tone.
Right.
And I noticed, like, at the end of all that action that we saw in the first Fury Road, there was a title card that said Mad Max Fury Road. Right? In this film, after the whole slow picking of the fruit.
Right.
And at the end, I was waiting for a title card. There was no title card in this. You notice that?
Yeah, interesting. I didn't notice that. The plot for this movie was finished before Fury Road,
Yes.
which I thought was really interesting. So this movie goes into depth over places that we just learn about in Fury Road, but we don't actually see. Like, if I remember correctly, Furiosa is supposed to be going to Gastown when she deviates, right?
Today we're heading to Gastown!
But we never actually see Gastown, but we see Gastown in its fullest here. We hear about the Bullet Farm and we see the Bullet Farm's leader, but we never see the Bullet Farm. But here we see the Bullet Farm in its glory. And so, I think that's pretty cool.
And it's slave labor.
Right, exactly. And the movie, of course, starts in the Green Place, the mythical Green Place, which is shockingly missing from Fury Road. Now, we don't know when it fell or what happened. This movie does not fill in that gap.
The soil.
We had to get out.
We had no water, and
The water was filth.
it was poisoned. It was sour.
And then the crows came.
But I like seeing a lot of the places that were talked about in Fury Road. Well, I like seeing them fleshed out.
Dang, how do you have a story that you had already written before, but then you write something that's different afterwards and it just becomes way more successful,
That's because when you write a movie, or you just write anything, quick tip for anybody who wants to write something, what you're supposed to do is you write the first movie and then you say, great, and you put that in the drawer and you never see it again. And the next movie, the sequel, is your movie, right? So that's the one you put out. That way you've got a whole movie's worth of background. But the reason why you don't put that first movie on the screen is because it's going to be a boring exposition dump, right?
Right.
And that's kind of what we have here. We got a lot of exposition explaining what Gastown is, and explaining what the Green Place was, and explaining what the Bullet Farm is. And you know what? I don't give a damn. I wanted to see Furiosa.
I wanted to see those crazy cars smashing together.
Yeah.
Her trying to get somewhere with a purpose.
Yeah. This one just needs to be cut down. I can't believe I'm saying that about a Mad Max film, that it needs to be cut down. This one was surprisingly bloated.
I feel that this film is a good film, but I believe it's in the shadow of a better film. It had a whole bunch of unbalanced spectacle. Ooh,
Yeah.
bar. It starts when she's a kid and she's kidnapped from a place of abundance where greenery is grown, and it shows her journey from being kidnapped by Chris Hemsworth's character.
And he's using her as a bargaining chip. He sells Furiosa in order to become a leader of Gastown. This is how we understand Furiosa's motivation for, trying to rescue all the wives, and she becomes a wife. And there are just these truly heinous shots of this little girl wearing that chastity belt thing. And oh my God. I was like, oh, that is harsh. You know what I mean? And which leads me to the themes of the film, where Mad Max was secretly a Furiosa movie the whole time.
Oh, yes.
This time, it's no secret. This time, they're doubling down on the Furiosa stuff. And not only that, they're doubling down on the, I kind of hesitate to say feminist, but pro-woman themes. And I like that quite a bit. Anya Taylor-Joy talked about how she really wanted to do this role because every role she gets, when her character is mad, she cries. And she was like, this is her first role where she got to play a character who is mad and does not cry. When I did some research on this, trying to figure out why Anya was so stiff, apparently George Miller was very, very specific in how Furiosa is supposed to look and how she's supposed to move. She seemed to be implying that she could not move. She could not use the lower half of her face. She had to do a lot of eye acting, She had very little lines. And she says she fought George Miller for months to get one line of her yelling.
I want them back.
I want them back.
You see where Furiosa gets her skills from, which is from her and the women and the people in that village.
To even take it a step further, the Green Place was much more explicitly a matriarchal system where it seemed like the women ran the show, where the Citadel was very much a patriarchal system where the men ran the show. And I liked how in the Green Place, it seemed like they had, again, it was also known as the place of abundance. It seemed like they shared everything. There were also men there, at least I thought so in the background, and they shared everything. But then when you go to the Citadel, Or Morton Joe is like, pick one of my men, and so that they can die for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is brutal and ugly, and it also it's unnecessary, right? They don't have to live like this, and yet they do.
And Morton Joe is a religious figure. You know, every person that's there is willing and just wants. That's how they feel. Their whole life is to live and die for Immortus Joe, so they can get into Valhalla. The best CGI is the ones that you don't see. Mad Max Fury Road really had little to none CGI, at least ones that we didn't even recognize. But every person that you see that was on that rig that got blown up and a little swinging thing where they were like grabbing people and stuff off of that, it looked like it was real, and everything was like filmed that way. In this film, you could tell.
Yeah, they used a lot more CGI this time around. And it was like distracting, which I was like, no, you know, it broke my heart, you know. And there's this great scene where there's this chase with the war rig, and it's probably the best scene in the film, but almost everything in the background is fake. And I don't remember that being the case in Fury Road. Like, sure, there were sky replacements and stuff like that in Fury Road, but I don't remember like whole cars and people just looking fake to me. And so there's a scene where he's on that pole, you know what I mean? And so he keeps swinging back and forth. He stands up and he looks behind him, and there's an explosion. And the explosion is real. It's a real explosion. Now, again, they could have digitally, it could be a composite, right? Maybe he wasn't actually in the air while the explosion was going on. But like it was real, and it felt tactile, and it felt freaking scary. And that moment was not in Furiosa. And that's what I missed more than like Max. That feeling of like someone's in danger.
You don't need Max in this world.
Again, I really like Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's a fantastic actress. I think she's one of our greatest actors we have working today.
For sure.
But her hair was distracting because the story seemed to need her to shave her head really early, and she didn't. She kept her hair long, and they try to justify it by having her had the peach pit hiding in her hair. Even though she's supposed to be a boy, like she's supposed to pretend to be a boy. I thought that was kind of odd. Right. But then when she does finally shave her head, because Anya Taylor-Joy, she's got a very successful fashion career or fashion modeling career going on, they didn't allow her to actually shave her head. So she had to wear like a bald cap type thing. And it made her head kind of bulbous, and it didn't look right, man.
It looked like she had a fro.
It didn't look right.
She had a lopsided fro, like the one I had in 10th grade. Don't go to that yearbook picture. It's disgusting. It did look weird, and that did take me out of it too, dude. This rig is driven by,
I think his name was like Praetorian or something like that. Yeah.
Praetorian, yeah. They actually form a kinship, Furiosa and him, to where he's like, I'll teach you everything that I know. Because he sees that, sees something in her, sees she got talent.
Sometimes they kind of shied away from some of the more graphic violence. I guess that's not a bad thing, but it was, again, distracting. Because everything they did, every time they shied away from the violence, they put up some sort of CGI smokescreen, right? There's a scene where a person's getting ripped apart by some motorcycles. Not that I want to see that shit. But as soon as the bikes start going, this like fake CGI sand pops up. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And it was distracting. And there's another scene where there's some sort of contraption in the back of the war rig that like swings around and kills people. And so I was expecting to see something crazy with that. But the thing, I think it hits like some cloth or something like that. And so the cloth obscures, a lot of the violence. But the cloth looks so clearly like fake. At first I thought it was like a snake. I was like, is there a snake? And I was
like, Macy's Day down in the downtown parade.
Yeah, it looked fake. Well, I feel like I'm like kind of roasting it right now. I'm only roasting it because I loved Fury Road so much. And this one, because it comes up a little bit short, I just want to like trim some fat here, fix a ball cap there, clean up some CGI, you know what I'm saying? So we can get so we can get this right, you know what I'm saying?
That peach pit, her mother gave her that to basically replant, and she basically used that peach pit when she caught up with DEVIN'S, made him suffer even more because she took that peach pit and basically grew a new tree of life from him, right? And I thought that was ingenious, for like a level of revenge that you never would see in any other like revenge story film.
One of the things that made people fall in love with Fury Road is because it felt mythical, right? And there's even Dementis even says, can you make it feel epic? You know, and that's why people liked Fury Road so much. And I like that this movie really, again, doubled down on this kind of mythology or mythologizing of their story, right? And so when we got to the end of the film, Dementis, he was like, hey, I'm so happy you're here. So you can kill me. That's great. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? That way I can live on forever. Because once you kill me, you will become me. So let's go. Let's get this going. Now, can you make it epic? Oh, wait, don't do it. Don't do it just yet. Shoot me in the back of the
head. Shoot in the back of the head.
I won't see it coming. I won't see it coming. You know? So I like that he was like really f***ed up with it. And I like the movie was like, our character cannot kill Dementis because thematically it would be almost a death for that character. And I like that the movie did not kill Dementis. They did something even more demented with him. They had him literally become a tree. Like
become a tree.
His shit will forever be fueling a tree. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's just cruel and ugly and mythological. I love that so much. Like the Greek stories of like people like forever destined to like roll a stone up a hill, or like the character, if he forever will have a raven pluck out his liver forever. Like I love stuff like that. That's great. I think that's where George Miller is in his bag when he's doing this like fantastic mythological storytelling. I just wish he sped it up a bit. This movie has a lot more in common with 1,000 Years of Longing than I ever expected. It's still weird. It's still mythical. It's just slower.
Like I thought the movie was good and it had actions in certain places, but it was just not Fury Road. And I recently saw Fury Road.
And I knew we were in for a hard time when the first thing you see is like chapter 1. And I'm like,
oh, shoot.
I was like, what did you say?
This is in chapters?
Maybe they're just not making the right movies, or maybe these movies are too expensive. I don't know. Because apparently this is the worst Memorial Day weekend since Casper the Friendly Ghost came out in 1995.
Man.
And not only that, I'm not sure. You guys are watching this from the future, so you know, but I don't know if this movie is going to beat Garfield for number 1 this weekend. Like, can you imagine that? And again, it's not because of the quality of the film. I think this is a good film. This is a really good film. I think it deserves to make its budget pack. I think people are just tired. They just don't want to see this. And I was talking to you when we texted, so you already know this, right? So I guess I'm talking to the audience now. But I was talking to Tyrone. I was like, this is going to be a tough year because I got to be blunt with you. This was it for me. This was the only movie that I was really looking forward to in the theater this year. Everything else, I'm not really into it. Most people will only go see 1, maybe 2 movies a year. Maybe these people are waiting to watch Deadpool and Wolverine. But like, I think this is going to be a rough year.
And you know what I foresee? I don't think the theaters is going to last for the next 25 years. They need to change their business layout. Comfortable seats and gourmet food just ain't going to cut it.
I think movies are just too expensive. It's going to be like a $60 experience to watch something that you can watch for free if you're patient. And I think most people are they're just waiting, you know? They're just waiting. It kind of reminds me a lot of what's happening right now with Madam Web. Madam Web's killing it on Netflix, where it's supposed to be, okay? It's not supposed to be in the theater. People want to see these movies. They just don't want to see them in the theater. I keep going back to what Steven Spielberg said. It's been like 15 years, so he was very early when he said it. But he said there's going to be a day where we're going to have these big IP films just not do well, and the movie industry is just going to crash. There is no 2024 Barbenheimer. So what is going to happen?
Thank you so much for clicking on this video. We really appreciate you guys. More people are talking to us in the comments. More people that are different than the people that we normally talk to in the comments.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for talking to us. Thank you for subscribing to us. We are almost to 1,000 subscribers, and it's because of the beautiful people like you. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button right down there. It really does help us out. And if you did like the review for this film, please hit the thumbs up, all right? Or you can hit that thumbs down, whichever you choose. It is your opinion, but just remember one thing, it is mostly wrong. We'll see you in another video.